In a world where the news gets twisted, John and Tom stand tall, never wished it. MAGA hats on, they take the stage. With laughter and facts, they break the cage. Unsanctioned voices feel less and bold, turning the tide, watch the truth unfold. Unsanctioned America, hear their call. With a duo on fire, they'll never fall. From the heart of the right, they bring the fight, lasting through the night, shining a light. Oh, debating the nonsense of the woke parade. With every punchline, conservative trade, they tackle the issues with humor and wit. In Unsanctioned America, they won't quit. So tune in tight, let the laughter ignite, as John and Tom clash through the political night. Unsanctioned America, hear their call. With a duo on fire, they'll never fall. From the heart of the right, they bring the fight, lasting through the night, shining a light. So tune in tight, let the laughter ignite, as John and Tom clash through the political night. Unsanctioned America, hear their call. With a duo on fire, they'll never fall. From the heart of the right, they bring the fight, lasting through the night, shining a light. Oh, together they rise, wear their pride like a crown. In Unsanctioned America, never backing down. Unsanctioned America, hear their call. With a duo on fire, they'll never fall. From the heart of the right, they bring the fight, lasting through the night, shining a light. Oh, shining a light.
They're eating the dogs, they're eating the cats. Eat the cat, eat the cat. They're eating the dogs, they're eating the cats. Eat the cat, eat the cat. They're eating the cats, they're eating the dogs. Eat the cat, eat the cat, eat the cat, eat the cat.
Seeing red, so don't push me. Ain't Donald Trump trying to grab him by the... Said it was some Haitians, somewhere out in Springfield. Women doing cartwheels.
Have you seen Garfield?
Eat the cat.
Have you seen Snowball? This about to snowball. I'm about to go off. I can't let this go on. Miss me like an airball. Tell me where my cat is, cough it up like a hairball.
Eat the cat.
I gotta tell them if they even put the fingernail on Santa's little helper to turn them to hamburger helper. Somebody better help them, cause I'm going to jail for showing them fellas helter skelter.
Eating the dog.
Usually I'm content, but if you touch my dog, then I'm turning into John Wick. I'm lit. Bird better drop it. If you touch my pet, then I'm pulling up like CrossFit.
They're eating the dogs, they're eating the cats. Eat the cat, eat the cat. They're eating the cats, they're eating the dogs. Eat the cat, eat the cat, eat the cat, eat the cat.
It's a shame, it's a pity. Thought overseas where they said Hello Kitty, but it ain't there, it's right here in your city. When I turn my back, now the cat goes missing in the where my peoples is at. Does anybody know where he flipped when that? Cause I heard they putting claws on felines, I'm mad. And my cat disappeared just like Felix the cat. And they got paid back. Thought she was a goner, but the cat came back. If you ain't a pussy cat, say drop that cat. Drop that cat. Drop that cat. Got paid back. Thought she was a goner, but the cat came back. If you ain't a pussy cat, say drop that cat. Drop that cat. Drop that cat.
They're eating the dogs, they're eating the cats. Eat the cat, eat the cat. They're eating the cats, they're eating the dogs. Eat the cat.
Drop that cat.
Welcome to Unsanctioned.
We need to guard that spirit. We have to guard that spirit. Let it always inspire us. Let it always be the source of our optimism, which is that spirit that is so uniquely American. And let that then inspire us by helping us to be inspired to solve the problems that so many face, including our small business owners. We
Well. Kamala Harris. Can she lie? Yeah, she can lie. Every time she open her mouth, there's a motherfucker lie. Roll it.
I know the importance of safety.
I don't know what happened there, but it was another word salad from Kamala Harris. It's just another week, another word salad, John. You know how it goes.
Hey, yeah, absolutely, Tom. Did you hear me?
Yeah, I hear
did
you
lose
now.
me?
Yeah, I hear you now.
Okay, so you're absolutely right. What a great pair of videos to start the show off. Number one, you have Trump proving that he's a genius. The minute that the word cat dropped out of his mouth, it's the number one thing that's being talked about across Twitter, across Facebook. People are making memes like we just saw. People are writing music to it. Trump is the master of keeping his name at the very top, on the tip of the tongue of every American citizen. At the end of the day, that wins races, right? That wins races. He makes himself the most relevant human being across every age group in the world. So, and then Kamala Harris talking about another word salad. I mean, this person, she is the worst public speaker of all time. She's actually worse than George W. Bush. Remember when George would, and I like George, right? I thought George is somebody that I would go out and have a fun weekend with, right? Because you could tell that he's like this is a frat boy.
Yeah.
That was George. George is like a frat boy. Well, Kamala Harris, she's a sorority sister, actually. But she's a worse speaker than he is. People used to attribute what he said to being dumb, right?
Yeah.
Oh, strategery. Okay, well, he's just dumb. Remember, they made up that word and they stuck it on him and they made fun of him. Well, she speaks worse than he does.
Yeah.
But they're clamoring for her to become president. It makes no sense. The mainstream media has absolutely just drank so much Kool-Aid. I can't wait for the effects of that Kool-Aid to settle in. Because they're absolutely just smitten with her.
Yeah,
and she
they
can't
are,
put
John.
two words together that make sense.
And you know what's funny, John, is that, you see that she has another word salad here, right? You tell me that she didn't have an earpiece in, that she wasn't being fed lines at that
She's
debate.
wearing the same earrings.
Yep.
She's wearing the same earrings during this speech as she was during the debate.
Yeah.
Now, come on. Come on. Now it makes it very suspicious. Either she's making a point or she's wearing an earpiece, one or the other.
Yeah, she's wearing an earpiece.
Yeah. Well, welcome to another episode of Unsanctioned America. This is School Board Member John Arguello and my great friend over here, Citizen Tom Lord. We are here to bring you what happened over this past week, a little bit later in the week than we normally do it. But we had a hurricane here.
Yeah.
Don't know if anybody knew that or not, but apparently half of our state is underwater right now. So a hurricane came in, and we pray for all the people that were in the path of the hurricane. In fact, let's go ahead and do our prayer, and then we'll get into the show. Lord, we are so appreciative to live in this state. I would rather deal with 100 hurricanes than one Gavin Newsom. And we know that at the end of the day, this state is the freest state in the union, and it's something that we should not take for granted. It's very close. 20,000 votes separated us from being an Andrew Gillum state versus a Ron DeSantis state. So these elections are important because without somebody to protect our freedom of religion, then we might have been closed. We might not be able to go to church right now because Andrew Gillum is probably more extreme than even Gavin Newsom is. So we appreciate being in this state. We appreciate our leadership in this state. We hope that they do the right thing. We know that they're not perfect. We know that they make mistakes. But at the end of the day, we pray that you inspire all of the leaders of this state and this country to do the right thing for the people of the United States. And we pray that you inspire those people to stand up and do the right thing, to do their civic duty so that we can make our country a better place. In your son's name, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
So let's go over these headlines here that we got. Let me pull them up first. Probably should have done that already.
That's all right.
A hurricane makes everybody slower for a couple of days at least.
Yeah, we were actually lucky here. I mean, we didn't get it as bad as
we were
our
very
neighbors
lucky
up north. Yeah.
Yeah, we were very lucky. I know that our in-laws ranch, they lost power. They just got back power, in fact.
Wow.
So it's been a couple of days. There's a lot of places throughout the state. I've seen a lot of places in Tampa that was underwater. A lot of homes that are destroyed and so on. So the storm really. It may not have hit us directly, but it had impacts throughout the southeast. So,
Yeah.
but this week, eating dogs, eating cats. You just saw it, tossing an inspirational salad. Kamala Harris. That's her number one talent. It appears. Draw dop jaw-dropping info on Trump assassination attempt. We're going to talk about that next, and that's big. Biden releases wannabe assassins manifesto, but he didn't drop that trans manifesto in one of those recent mass shootings, did he, Tom?
Nope. Nope.
Uh, we got Biden wants to use taxpayer money to register non-citizens to vote. Okay, so we all wondered, and you heard a lot of the pundits talking about how they were bringing these illegal aliens so they could vote. We're going to talk about that. Dems vote to keep illegals charged with rape and murder in the country. It's incredible. More than 100 Dems voted to keep illegals in the country have been charged with rape and murder. Trump ready to slap 200% tariff on John Deere products made in Mexico. Shark takes a bite out of Kamala Harris' zero plan. Kamala Harris swears by Bidenomics. Adams, accused of corruption, says he's targeted for anti-immigration stance. We've talked about that, and we called that. We called that probably, I don't know, right after he was elected, right? We were like, hey, if he keeps talking like this against the immigration policies of the Biden administration, you might see him getting targeted next. And now look what happens. He gets arrested. So, I don't know. We're going to talk about that. We got the Soros, his plan to take over the airwaves progresses. And just when you thought Chicago couldn't get any worse, it gets worse. Yeah. And then, of course, pets being eaten. It's being spoken about, and now it's going to be, we're going to talk a little bit about it again, because we are finding out that they were talking about this problem months ago. Yep. So incredible that they were denying it, even though it's on the record. And more than approximately 100,000 dead voters on the roll in Oklahoma. What does that mean for voter rolls across the country? We're going to talk about that. All that and more on this episode of Unsanctioned America. Stick with us. We're going to get right into the show.
Let's get into some news. All right, John. So starting off, like you said, this bombshell dropped. This whistleblower has come forward alleging the second assassination attempt on Trump may have been a Secret Service inside job. He sent this affidavit through Josh Hawley's office. And you can see it right here, John. It says a whistleblower direct knowledge of Secret Service protection at former President Trump's golf course in West Palm Beach. An individual who has in fact protected President Trump at that very location alleges there are known vulnerabilities in the fence line surrounding the course, places that offer a clear line of sight to the former president and others playing the course. All right. As a result, the whistleblower alleges that it has been Secret Service protocol to post up agents at these vulnerable spots when Trump visits the course. That apparently did not happen on September 15th. Instead, the gunman was permitted to remain along or near the fence line for some 12 hours. It is further unclear from your recent press conference whether agents swept the perimeter of the golf course at any point or whether drones were used to surveil the fence line. The reality is that would-be assassins should never have been able to linger around the course for that long undetected. Please answer immediately the following questions raised by these new whistleblower allegations. And, it goes on to ask pertinent questions. And it's signed by Josh Hawley. He was a United States Senator. This is insane, John. But, I was listening to Patrick Bet-David podcast, and he had Grady Judd on. And they were talking about the first assassination attempt. And Grady Judd was saying that he didn't believe in conspiracies. He didn't think that there was anything conspiratorial going on, right? And I have a ton of respect for Grady Judd. But, look at this.
Tom, this is crazy. It's crazy that a police officer, a law enforcement officer, is going to deny that there might be something worth investigating. I mean, isn't that his job? If you're the sheriff, and Grady Judd's a good sheriff for Polk County, right? Now, a lot of people in Polk County, a lot of have had a lot of complaints about Grady Judd, saying that he's towing lines, and he's kind of in bed with the swamp and so on and whatever. But here's the thing: forget all that stuff, right? This is a law enforcement officer. When you're a law enforcement officer, you're supposed to take like an objective approach to things that go wrong, and then you analyze them as you investigate. The entire phrase, that's their job, to investigate. So why would you discount something like that? It's as bad as what's that guy's name? Hayes, right?
Yeah.
The supervisor of election, saying, "Oh, we have zero voter election fraud. Nobody's ever committed voter election fraud in the state of Florida." It's just as bad. This is an incredible thing that a chief law enforcement officer says, "Oh, I don't believe in conspiracy theories." Dude, I'm just the last shooting, the very initial shooting. I'm shocked. I still can't believe that they allowed somebody on the top of an obvious rooftop in black clothes on a white roof, and nobody saw him, right?
Yeah.
And then they found out that it wasn't the Secret Service that shot him first. It was actually a cop that shot him first. I read that. I'm waiting for the corroboration on that story.
Yeah.
So, what? How did that happen? So this is the bottom line. Either the Secret Service is so completely incompetent, or it has to be at least complicitly aided by somebody involved.
Yeah.
Somebody who has knowledge of the apparatus of the protection team of the President of the United States.
Yeah.
It's either one or both of those things.
Yeah, absolutely.
And for this guy to deny it is just nuts. It's mind-boggling. You got to at least say, you know what? I don't know what the heck is going on. Everybody should be fired. 100%. Everybody should be fired from there.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, if I were Trump, I would have my own personal security detail there. I wouldn't trust the Secret Service anymore.
No. And John, how can you call it a conspiracy theory? How can you say that you don't believe in conspiracy theories, especially after the last 8 years and everything that's been told to us that was a conspiracy theory? Yeah, that ended up being true. You know what I mean? All these things that have happened over the last 8 years that we were told were conspiracy theories, we were crazy, all ended up being true. Russia collusion.
Yeah, Russiagate. Yeah, right. Russia.
I mean,
that was it was the Democrats who did it. So now you have the Democrats manipulating the departments of our government, areas of our government, law enforcement of our government. James Comey, right? James Comey should be in jail. The fact that these guys got a retirement is sickening to me. It's sickening that these guys were allowed to retire, and that then those two, like Strzok, got a settlement of more than $1.5 million or something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, these are disgusting people that are basically traitors to the United States, and and it's unbelievable they get away with this. And you're talking about, you don't believe in conspiracy theories, dude? They were talking about insurance policies. They're talking like the mob.
No.
The things that these people got caught saying are more damning than what the mob get. What mobsters get thrown in jail over.
Hunter's laptop and 51 intelligence officials saying that it's Russian disinformation.
Those guys there should be a penalty for that, right? Like, if you and I lie and slander somebody, we will get sued. Why hasn't the Trump team sued these guys that knew the truth? Right? They should sue them for libel and slander. Those 100 people that signed that letter saying that it was fake and that it was Russiagate. I mean, this is incredible what's being allowed to happen in our country. There are two systems of government. There are, the two systems of government are the ones that you and I as regular American citizens deal with. And then the government that is absolutely out of control and weaponized against, their opponents. Yeah. And we're talking about the deep state, essentially.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, a little bit more, John, on Ruth, who was the second shooter here. Questions about why his manifesto has been released that puts a $150,000 bounty on Trump's head, when the FBI wouldn't release the Nashville trans school shooters manifesto because they said at the time they didn't want to inspire more violence, right? Interesting take on this from Jesse Waters. Here it is.
Donald Trump was closer to death on September 15th than we thought. In a new federal court filing, we learned that Ruth had been staking out Trump at Mar-a-Lago and at his golf course for weeks. Even more chilling, investigators who sacked the sniper's nest found the rifle with the scratched-off serial number had a bullet in the chamber. And when the feds caught Ruth, they found 2 sets of license plates and 6 cell phones in his car, one of which Googled an escape route from Palm Beach to Mexico. So why did Ruth have so many phones, and where did he get the fake plates? We're also learning about a strange box the feds claim that Ruth gave to a mysterious civilian witness months before he tried to take out Trump. The feds say this box contained 4 cell phones, ammo, tools, metal material, and some pipe, and a series of handwritten letters. The FBI released a photo of what they say is the first page of Ruth's letter. The FBI says this witness took a picture of the first page of the letter and sent it to the FBI 3 days after Ruth was assassinated. And the FBI is using this picture from a mysterious witness of a letter that we don't even know if they have custody of in a federal court filing. So in this purported letter, the FBI says Ruth was motivated to kill Trump because he believed the former president was unfit and destructive to America's moral fabric. Does that sound familiar? Ruth's letter purportedly says that he failed to assassinate Donald Trump and that he was offering $150,000 to anyone who could finish the job. So the Biden administration just released the Assassin's Manifesto that put a $150,000 bounty on Trump's head and called him unfit to serve, the same language Biden's used. The FBI wouldn't release the Nashville trans school shooters manifesto because they said at the time they didn't want to inspire more violence. But they published this guy's manifesto? And why'd they only cherry pick the first page? What else is in these letters? Law enforcement tells us publishing Ruth's letter is basically giving the public a blueprint for the next assassination. And who the hell is this mysterious witness? Is he in custody? He sounds like a co-conspirator. And what kind of witness, you get a box from someone and you don't open it? Was he following instructions? And then he didn't give it to the feds until 3 days after the assassination attempt? And why is Ruth writing letters assuming he didn't finish the job? And does the FBI even have custody of this letter, or did they just take a screen grab from a mysterious witness and submit it to the...
Some very pertinent questions there from Jesse Waters, John. Very pertinent questions. And we've seen video of Ruth on the Kamala Harris bus. So this is very, very strange. Very strange, John. Conspiracy theory.
And he's saying that it's a blueprint, right? I mean, it's not a blueprint. It's basically, it does create like a copycat situation. I think that they may have failed to kill the president twice on purpose. If you were to believe the conspiracy theories, it would make sense that both of these people, when the first guy failed, right, then the second guy comes and he fails on purpose. They knew that guy is an idiot. From what I understand, what I'd heard, I don't know if it's true either, it was also a cop that shot at him, not the Secret Service. I don't know for sure yet, right? But if that's the case, then maybe these guys are set up to fail anyways. They don't care whether he actually assassinates them or not, because what they want is to create a situation where all these crazy blue-haired liberals who cut their kids' genitals off are out there trying to shoot Donald Trump. You're creating a world where now somebody else is going to do it who's not connected. You've created, you drop a rock in a pond and you see the ripple, right? Yeah. And that's what they're trying to do. These assassination attempts are a rock in the pond, and then these ripples are all these crazy leftists, like these people who basically want turn their kids transgender, and they and those are the people that are going to take the arms. Unfortunately, they probably can't carry a weapon in the battle, but nonetheless, that's exactly what they're trying to do, I think, is create. And they're talking, now we've had 2 assassination attempts. You still have the demented old man, Biden, and you still have Kamala Harris saying that he's a threat to democracy. You still have leaders in the government saying that he's a threat to democracy. And I mean, what does it take? How many assassination attempts is it going to require for them to keep their mouths shut and do the right thing and admit what happened and admit what's going on. You know,
Yeah.
the truth may hurt a little bit, but it's better in the end for the American people.
Yeah, yeah. Ain't that the truth, John? Well, it looks like the Biden administration is on the move, John. They just issued an unconstitutional executive order number 14019, which utilizes taxpayer funds to facilitate the registration and voting access of non-citizens. Listen to this.
I want to ask you about President Biden's executive order 14019 on promoting access to voting. Can you speak to some of the concerns with this executive order?
Absolutely. First of all, I believe that it's unconstitutional. But having said that, why is it that the Biden administration has absolutely resisted every effort to turn over any of the plans by any of the agencies? The House Committee on Administration issued subpoenas in July to every cabinet secretary and have asking for the plans for implementing Executive Order 14019. And not a single agency plan has been turned over to the House Administration Committee. And I included in my written testimony a file from a whistleblower who sent to me. He is a U.S. Marshal, and he sent the Department of Justice guidelines, instructions to all the U.S. Marshals, requiring them, notifying them that they are required to offer voter registration materials and voter education materials to everyone with whom they come into contact, including, and he sent me a file of someone who had to be registered to vote, who is a prisoner in a Texas federal facility. He's imprisoned for violating federal law because he was deported and returned. He's a Mexican citizen. It says that in his file, and he was registered to vote, and they're required to give him voter registration materials. That is happening in federal prisons all over the country.
So let me ask you, then, is it your understanding that they are actually implementing the very plans that they refuse to turn over to Congress?
They're absolutely doing that, and we only know, we get bits and snatches from people, from whistleblowers and from various sources, but nothing official. And if you want to know the most, you go to the Demos website, which is a left-wing organization, and they have literally been dispatched by the White House to federal agencies to help them implement this plan. They know more about what's going on in these agencies to implement this executive order than any member of Congress.
Are they involved with implementing the executive order?
Yes, they are.
And are they in compliance with FACA or the Federal Advisory Committee Act?
No, they are not. No, they are not.
So they're violating FACA.
They are violating that. Yes, they are. And they brag about it.
Wow. Good job, Congresswoman Harriet Hagman, for getting to the bottom of this. The fix is in, John. The fix is in.
I mean, have you ever seen, these are literally the things that that Democrats have been saying are ridiculous, right? Republicans have been saying and accusing the Democrats of this for a couple of years now, right? Half a dozen years maybe. And the Democrats have said that this is ridiculous. You're conspiracy theorists. You guys are imagining all this, And at the end of the day, look, they're all being caught. This is all coming out in the open. This is the reason that it's all out in the open right now is because they can't afford to keep it quiet. They need to get every last drop out so that Trump loses the election. That's what it is. That's what it's all about. Because if they lose the election, that's it. They'll never come back. They're terrified, and so they're doing all these things out in the open because they need them. They can't afford to go without, whether they get caught doing it or not. And crazy liberals might be supporting it as well.
Yeah, and I hope people are paying attention and see this and see it for what it is, because this is the fix. This is exactly what it is.
They're trying to steal the election.
Yeah.
And then you still have people saying, "Oh, there's no problems with voter integrity or election integrity." Look what's happening. Wake up.
Yeah.
Wake up. Wake up. The American people don't believe it anymore. I mean, you just see crowds and crowds migrating to Trump, right? Like you see all these populations just migrating to Trump. It doesn't matter where you're at in the country. People that you would never expect to vote for Trump are all migrating to Trump because they know that you're lying to them now. They just don't want to deal with it. Yeah. They don't want the lies. They'd rather have somebody they don't agree with than somebody who's straight up lying, gaslighting them, right? This is like dating an abusive boyfriend or girlfriend who just gaslights you all day long. Right? They're telling, it's not me, it's you. No, it's you. It's you. It's all you. It's 100% you. Right? I mean, it's it's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah. Well,
I never thought we'd see this.
No. But here it is.
In our lifetime, right? We were complacent.
No. Well, Democrats are also on the move, John. 158 of them voted no on deportations of illegal immigrants for sex offenses. They voted to keep illegal immigrant murderers and rapists on the streets. 2 Democrats, 5 Republicans did not vote. Here's the list, John. We can see that some of our Florida representatives here, Democrats, voted no against this and deportations. And it's just crazy. Here's the list. We can see Soto is there.
Yeah, and Frost.
Yeah.
2 pieces. I mean, 2. I don't know what I was going to say there, but 2 not so fine gentlemen there voting to allow illegals charged with sex crimes to be deported. Come on, they're more worried about protecting illegal aliens than they are about protecting the American people. That's clear as day. Clear as day.
Yeah. And the 5 Republicans.
I mean, if I were running against Soto right now, I would be hitting him over the head with it. I haven't seen his competitor say anything about it, Colonel Shalaf. But I mean, come on, this is the type of vote that you want to talk about a lot and in public a lot. It just doesn't seem like any of our Republicans were really trying to win their races.
No, they're not. And you can see the 5 Republicans that did not vote. D'Esposito out of New York, Dunn out of Florida, Granger out of Texas, Lota out of New York, and I can't even say that last name out of New York. So just unbelievable.
Crazy.
Unbelievable, John. Well, President Trump, he points at a tractor behind him at this rally, tells John Deere that if they move their business to Mexico, he's going to put a 200% tariff on them. Here he is.
I just noticed behind me John Deere tractors. I know a lot about John Deere. I love the company. But as you know, they've announced a few days ago that they're going to move a lot of their manufacturing business to Mexico. I'm just notifying John Deere right now. If you do that, we're putting a 200% tariff on everything that you want to sell into the United States, so that if I win, John Deere is going to be paying a 200%. They haven't started it yet. Maybe they haven't even made the final decision yet, but I think they have. John Deere is going to, and anybody else that does this, because it's hurting our farmers, it's hurting our manufacturing. And if you do that, you're going to have a 200% tariff put on the product that you make in Mexico, right across the border. They think they're going to make product cheaper in Mexico and then sell it in for the same prices they did before, make a lot of money by getting rid of our labor and our jobs, and really a great name, because John Deere is a great name. I buy a lot of John Deere, tremendous. I'm one of their big customers. I buy a lot of John Deere product as a private person. But if they're going to do that, we're going to put a 200% tariff on everything that they want to send back into the United States, which means one of 2 things. Our country's going to make a lot of money, or they're not going to build, they're not going to open, and or they're going to sell it to another country. They're entitled to do that. If they want to build in the country, in the United States, there's no tariff. You can go ahead and you can build in any one of the 50 states. You can go ahead. But if they don't want to do that, we're going to put a 200% tariff on John Deere. And you know what's going to happen? They're going to announce very shortly, if they think I'm going to win, or if I do win, they're going to announce that they're not going to build in Mexico. They're going to have to pay a tremendous tariff, which means 2 things. They're not going to build the plant if it's not too late. They're not going to build the plant. This country's going to make a lot of money. Or they're going to build the plant, but they're going to build it in the United States somewhere, and ideally a place like Michigan or South Carolina, where we have a lot of auto business. But we're not going to let that happen. But John Deere has got to understand that if they build in Mexico, if they start closing plants, in this case it was in Iowa, they're going to close a big plant and a couple of them. And that's just the beginning. The problem is that's just the beginning. Then all of a sudden you'll hear in a year from now they're going to do another one. All of a sudden they're not going to be in the country anymore. They're going to have to pay.
Yeah. And you know what's funny, John, is that Mark Cuban from Shark Tank, he's the owner of the Dallas Mavericks, he came out and said that this was stupid. He said that President Trump is crazy, that what is he doing now? And Mark Cuban is a really funny guy, because before President Trump was elected president, Mark Cuban was saying what a great, smart guy Donald Trump was. But now, he's the ultimate Trump hater. Just unbelievable. What do you think about this, a 200% tariff on John Deere?
I say sick them, Trump, get them. And here's why. You know, these companies, if they're not benefiting Americans, why are we protecting them? Or we're protecting these brand names for what reason? If you're not, the government's job is to protect the American citizen, not American business. American businesses protect themselves by serving their American customers or by serving their customers overseas if that's what their identity is, right? But the government is not intended to serve corporations. It's intended to serve the American people. So, and like a lot of people, I know here's a lot of these economic students, right? Especially blue-haired economic students are going to say, oh, well, but what about the shareholders? The shareholders are Americans and so on and whatever. No, their shareholders are BlackRock and Vanguard.
That's right.
You know, and that's why they do this. And that's the problem. This is the American people come first. We can never mess up our priorities. The American family comes first. Everybody else comes second. Right. And including corporations. So if the American corporation doesn't have any operations in America and the only thing that they do is just slap an American flag on their advertising and their branding, that's not enough. So, you know, I mean, American people deserve to know which companies are actually creating jobs, creating wealth, and serving the American people. And if John Deere doesn't want to be one of those companies and they want to help Vanguard make more money, then I mean, more power to them. But it's going to be at the expense of a 200% profit. And then you know what? I don't care. It could be you know a Chinese company that comes to the United States and they create an American company here, and they're hiring nothing but Americans, right? So what are you are you going to put food on the table of American people, or are you going to serve these corporate masters? To me, there's no difference between a Chinese company and an American company if they're not serving the American people.
Well,
For me, it's all about.
That's what I was going to say, John, is that when do you stop being an American company? If John Deere moves all their business, all their production plants to Mexico, don't they become a Mexican business at that point?
I mean, if they're going to move all of their plants to Mexico and the only thing that they have here is a headquarters where they have, 1,000 people working behind a desk, yeah, that's 1,000 people, but they're creating tens of thousands of jobs in Mexico. Okay, well, then, yeah, it's more of the Mexican company than it is anything else.
Exactly, and that's why I can justify him doing this tariff, because if you're going to do all your production outside of the United States, you're not a U.S. company anymore. I mean,
same with Apple. I think that we can debate whether Apple's an American company, right? Their headquarters, they pay taxes in Ireland. They don't pay taxes in the United States, right? So, are they an American company? They avoid paying taxes in the United States. I mean, and so in the end, I don't care. I mean, I think I'm becoming a flat tax kind of guy. I want something where there's just nothing to think about, right? Yeah. And I'd rather just know what's going on and whatever, and everybody deal with what it is, and it's easy to track and so on. Because right now, all these tax codes are, they're not. I don't think it benefits the average American.
No.
So you have to have these. In the end, you have to have companies that are committed to serving the American well-being, American families' well-being.
Yeah, absolutely, John. Absolutely, John. And speaking of Shark Tank, one of the other sharks, though, we kind of like him. It's Mr. Wonderful, Kevin O'Leary. He ripped Kamala Harris for her economic plan, or lack thereof. Makes fun of her for her kumbaya stuff with celebrity interviewers. Here he is.
Who is it? Who's better for the economy?
I don't know yet because I don't have any details from Harris. She has been all sugar, no protein. That's it. And it's become a really big sticking point with investors. We've got to remember we have the largest economy on earth. Over 85% of our jobs are created by the private sector. Business investors like me and leaders have to deal with who's ever in the White House in January. So whoever ends up on the 6th of November as the new mandate, we'll have to deal with them. So we need data. We need policy. And I'm getting a little critical now because I don't have any. So I need answers around taxation. For example, if you tell me that taxes are going to be 28% plus state taxes on corporations' headquarters, I'll have to worry that they move to Ireland again, because we did that to them once, and that didn't work out for us very well. I really need to understand the idea of price controls. That didn't work in the 70s. It doesn't work anywhere else on earth. And this whole idea of taxing unrealized gains, I mean, you got to remember, the number one export of America is the American dream. This is a 200-year-old economy that's based on supporting entrepreneurship. That destroys capital formation. Those ideas are beyond non-starters. They're crazy. And so you have to get more details on that. And I'd like her to sit down with a non-celebrity interviewer, a real reporter that asks her questions and follow-on questions. This kumbaya stuff with, pictures of kids and everything, it's great, and I get it, and I'm not criticizing her for it because it's working for her in the polls. But now we need details, and we don't have any.
Yeah, and you're not going to get any. You're not going to get any because she doesn't
there
have
are none.
any. Yes.
And if they did have some, they wouldn't tell you what they are because you're not going to want to hear it. Yeah. Here's the thing. I agree with everything that he said, except for one thing, that it's working in the polls. They put her in, right? So they dispatched the old man. They set him out to pasture. They put Kamala Harris in, whatever she wants to call herself. And then they say, okay, well, Kamala Harris is gonna win. And this is our new girl. And the mainstream media is all like throwing rose petals at her feet and whatever. This is of course there's gonna be a jump in the polls. That happens every time jump. Then it starts to come down. And that's exactly what happened with Kamala Harris, that we saw an initial jump. The mainstream media tried to make really turn all that momentum into a presidential success. But it's not going to work because the American people know that we're being lied to. We know that we're being gaslighted. And they know that she's dumb as a rock. You can't avoid it, right? You can hear it when she speaks. So she's not going to inspire anybody to go out and vote for her. So you have the people who hate Trump, right? And then you have the people who want to save their country, who don't like paying $4 a gallon or $5 or $6 or $10 a gallon for a gallon of gasoline. People who don't want to pay $20 for a dozen eggs. Those people who are in the middle, who are not political people like you and I are, Tom, those people are going to vote for Trump. And it doesn't matter what the polls show. The initial bump is just because she's new. There's a honeymoon period. The polls always go up on somebody like that, and then they settle down back into a realistic position. And that's what you see happening in the polls now, that it's equalizing out, it's getting back to a normal state, and you see Trump pulling ahead little by little by little, 1 point, 2 points, 3 points in national polls, and she's going to start eventually getting down to where you see it's going to end up. And I think that's what's happening now. I've been seeing some of the poll numbers kind of normalize a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you have to expect, with how unpopular Biden was and how upset the Democrats were to have Biden as their nominee, that they finally got rid of him and they got Kamala Harris. They're very happy at that point. Yeah, of course the polls are going to go up a little bit because they have somebody that I guess
it's not Biden.
Yeah, it's not Biden. Somebody that they can believe in a little bit more than him. But no.
Somebody who's not guaranteed to lose, right?
Yeah.
That's the initial. That's what the bump is. It's somebody who's not guaranteed. Everybody knew that Biden was going to get creamed in that election, and so they put Kamala Harris in. They pretend that they're excited. They do a pep rally. The mainstream media gets behind it. They try selling her as hard as they can. But the Kool-Aid, unlike regular Kool-Aid, this Kool-Aid stinks. As soon as you put it up to your nose, you know that it stinks. You can smell it, and so people aren't buying it. And so it doesn't matter initial bump, and then it's gonna find its normal, and she's gonna, I'm sure in a couple of weeks she's gonna be like 5 points down.
Yeah. And another conspiracy theory, John, that this was talked about months back, that Biden was not going to be the nominee, that he was going to be out, and sure enough, that came to pass. So another conspiracy theory that came true. All right, John, before we move on to Across the Nation, we have this important message from President Trump.
Bidenomics is working. It's a term we're very proud of, I must tell you, because Bidenomics is working. It's working. Bidenomics. Bidenomics. And Bidenomics is working. All of this is part of our blueprint together for what America can be. This is Bidenomics. Bidenomics. That is called Bidenomics.
Another great commercial from President Trump.
Yeah, there's nothing better than using their own words against them, right? I mean, it's between him and the cat eating and this stuff. I mean, like the thing is, people enjoy talking about Trump. It's like you go to work and you go around the water cooler, right? And there was like a Christmas party, and some crazy guy jumped off the balcony of the Christmas party into the pool and broke a table, and the boss fell in, and the fish went all over the place, and and everybody's talking about it the next day. Now, is it bad? Is it good? I don't know. But the point is, everybody's talking about it, and that's what Trump has turned the American election into, right? So all these couth, wrapped up tight people who don't like politics to be unpredictable are the people that are mad with Trump. But I think by and large, the American people deal with predictable on a daily basis. They fight hard. They go to work. They take care of their families. But at the end of the day, what do you watch on TV, right? You watch a hero come in, an imperfect hero. That's what everybody loves to watch. You love to watch the imperfect hero come and save the day at the end, do a couple of things that you got to, grimace a little bit. But at the end of the day, everybody wants the hero to win, and that's what Trump represents to the country right now. When clearly she's a bad guy from a movie. Yeah. She's so bad, it's like she's a villain from a movie.
From a cartoon book or a superhero comic.
She's Wile E. Coyote. I think we talked about that in prep a couple days ago, right? I mean, It's like, it's horrendous.
Well, they're calling Diddy now the Diddler, like the Riddler from Batman,
Yeah.
Just crazy. Anyway. First up, John, unbelievable. Eric Adams, he's been arrested. He's indicted.
We called it.
And he's saying now that he issued this statement saying he is being targeted for standing his ground to protect the citizens of New York. Here's his statement, John.
My fellow New Yorkers, it is now my belief that the federal government intends to charge me with crimes. If so, these charges will be entirely false, based on lies. But they would not be surprising. I always knew that if I stood my ground for all of you, that I would be a target. And a target I became. For months, leaks and rumors have been aimed at me in an attempt to undermine my credibility and paint me as guilty. Just this past week, they searched the home of our new police commissioner, looking for documents from 20 years ago, just 1 week after he joined my administration. Enough. I will fight these injustices with every ounce of my strength and my spirit.
All right, John, yeah, and he filmed that before they came and arrested him, but 5 counts in an alleged long-standing conspiracy connected to improper benefits, illegal campaign contributions, and an attempted cover-up, according to this sweeping indictment that was unsealed this past Thursday. He's 64 years old. He faces 1 count of wire fraud, 1 count of conspiracy, 2 counts of solicitation of a contribution from a foreign national, and 1 count of bribery. If he's convicted, he could face significant prison time. This is the thing, John. When you go along with the establishment, and that's, the deep state, and obviously if he was elected mayor of New York and he played the game for a little bit, if you know that they got some stuff that they can come after you for, or if you decided you wanted to dip your fingers into the pie, all right, you should expect this to happen to you. And sure enough, here he is. He's in big trouble, John.
Yeah, so I don't know anything. I haven't read any of the charges. I don't know about the charges at all. Is he guilty? God only knows. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he was. He's a Democrat. He's from New York. All that points to very likely. I mean, like the guy from New Jersey, the senator from New Jersey, Menendez, who had bars of gold in his shoes. I mean, like these guys, The Sopranos was a believable show, right? It was a believable show. And it's because everything is so corrupt. this guy. So is he guilty? Who knows? Who knows? But I do know this: there's 100 politicians in New York who are guilty of probably the exact same things that this guy's being accused of. The
Yes.
difference is that they're obedient. And Eric Adams was complaining about the immigration. He couldn't handle the amount of immigration that was coming into New York. He spoke out against it. He made Biden look horrendous. He's a big part of the reason this was blowing up, because even people in New York, right? If you can squash it in New York, because all these people, crime in New York, I mean, what happens? He loses an election, right? No big deal. You have all these illegal aliens. Nobody knows they have the policies. New York is so big; it's like a micro country, and they could have gotten away with putting all these illegal aliens there, right? And what happens? He starts fighting against it. And now he's exposing the entire federal government in this policy of allowing every criminal from Venezuela to come to the United States. And they probably warned him multiple times. If you speak out on this, then we're going to come after you. And they did come after him. And so I have no doubt that this is absolutely political. But at the same time, who knows if it's true or not? It's probably business as usual in New York.
Yeah.
But they're going to make him pay for it because he didn't follow the rules that they have for him, right? He was disobedient, and now he's going to get his hand smacked, and who knows what happens.
We'll just have to see how hard they smack that hand, John.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well.
But I wonder, if they had laws like Florida, they could remove him. So I'm surprised that even when this happened several days ago, that the governor hasn't said anything, because if they have law, I don't know what the laws in New York are, but the laws in Florida allow the governor to remove him, right? So to remove a mayor from office. So I'm sure that if that were the case here, that DeSantis might be removing him the way that he removed Fred Hawkins in Osceola County, right? So that'll be interesting.
Yeah, we'll have to see if Hochul steps up and does something.
Mm-hmm.
Well, John, the FCC just fast-tracked George Soros' purchase of 220-plus radio stations before November's election. These stations reach 165 million Americans, and this is something that has never been done before. Watch this, John.
You've indicated there's a transaction where a Soros-backed group would take ownership of over 200 radio stations across 40 different markets, after the FCC originally indicating that transaction could be reviewed and approved at the bureau level without a commission vote. It's now become clear that is a decision before the full commission, and it's one that I would assume now or in the near future the commission would approve. I think what's interesting about it is that the FCC here is not following its normal process for reviewing a transaction. We have established over a number of years one way in which you can get approval from the FCC when you have in excess of 25% foreign ownership, which this transaction does. And it seems to me that the FCC is poised to create, for the first time, an entirely new shortcut.
Yeah, thank you. As you pointed out here and previously, these proceedings for transfer of ownership have been expedited. What exactly makes this case so deserving of an expedited proceeding so far, from what you could tell?
There is nothing about this transaction that is out of the ordinary. It's the type of thing that we see all the time, and the FCC has a process for this. The full commission itself has never signed off on a shortcut like this. What we usually do is we require people to file a petition with us. We bring in national security agencies. They can review the foreign ownership. It's probably no big deal here, but we review that foreign ownership, and then we vote. Here, they're trying to do something that's never been done before at the commission level.
Wow. And, John, this is it right here. This is more of George Soros interfering with American politics. That's what this is. Right before the election, here he is sticking his ugly head in, and they're just going to let it happen. I would like to see a list of these radio stations, which ones they are specifically, so we can avoid them.
I mean, this should be a crime, right? Because this is purely, he's buying these stations for the intent of interfering with the elections. That's what it is. He's trying to control the voice of people who speak on politics so that he can control the messaging I mean, it's basically, it should be a campaign contribution. That's what it is. You know, the purchase. And here's the thing. Why is he getting this special treatment? I don't understand why he would get this special treatment. Obviously, Biden knows. That's what makes it a campaign contribution situation, where the Biden administration is greasing the skids so that he can get this done prior to the election to impact the election. For me, that would be which is obviously, it's a Biden-Harris administration. So, I mean, I don't know. It's never going to happen, right? These people don't pay for their crimes, so to speak, right? Like, there are, like we just said, two systems of justice, and it does not apply to people like Soros. And just the name Soros itself should discourage anyone from voting or listening to these radio stations. So I hope he goes broke, but he doesn't care about that. For him, this is all about ideology. He would spend all of his money. You know, he knows he's like in his latter years, and he doesn't have much time left, and he would spend all of his money to get a Marxist state in the United States.
Absolutely. All right, John. So Chicago is about to burn and go up in flames, John, according to this activist. The South Side, you know, Chicago has been inundated with these migrants. Kamala Harris's border policy in effect here. Watch this.
Has allowed gangs to enter our country.
The migrants that are coming, they're taking over every block right now.
The city of Chicago is going to go up in smoke. It's going to go up in flame.
Gangs in Chicago are angry over the influx of migrants and criminals in their city. They say money that should be going to the African American community on the South Side is instead going to what they call non-citizens, and warn that turf wars between Chicago's gangs and groups like Venezuela's Tren de Aragua could see Chicago, quote, go up in flames. Photographer Matt McDermott and I traveled to Chicago's South Side to see what was happening for ourselves after we heard about a police report last month that the Tren de Aragua gang had taken over an office building there. We spoke to a number of young, hardcore gang members, as well as gang elders who have retired from the life, and just regular citizens who are very much part of the community. And they're all furious at the estimated $500 million that's reportedly been funneled toward new migrants in Chicago since 2022. And they aren't happy either about what they say are Venezuelan criminal gangs that are leaving the shelters and spilling out into the South Side into abandoned buildings. I spoke to Tyrone Muhammad of Ex-Cons for Trump, who runs a street patrol and violence prevention program. He's gone straight since his days as an enforcer for the Gangster Disciples. And he said the situation is very tense on the South Side as turf battles between the local gangs and Venezuelan migrants heat up.
It is impossible to release gang members and criminals into our country through the borders and broken walls, and then infiltrate them in our communities that's already impoverished, that's already broken, that's already disinvested. And when the black gangs, the leadership in the black gangs in Chicago get fed up with the illegalities and the criminal activity of these migrants or non-citizens, the city of Chicago is going to go up in smoke, it's going to go up in flame, and it's going to be nothing that the National Guard or our government can do about it when the bloodshed hit the streets, blacks against migrants.
Zach Massey did time in state prison with Tyrone Muhammad, although he's only 27. He's a leader on the streets and said he's disgusted by the money going to Venezuelan migrants at the expense, he says, of the African American community.
I finally actually talked to him on the translator app, and he told me all the things that he got going on, how they help him get a car, apartment, clothes, link. So it's just like, I just be looking at it like they ain't got no Social Security, no where they come from. He probably not even here legally.
They get right here, they get quick housing, quick funding, food. They get cars with no license. They can't even read English and stuff like that. So they get all these perks when they get here, and we still here starving. So what we gonna do about it? Are y'all gonna listen to our cries?
Corey Rogers was a Blackstone gang member for years. He drove us around the South Side and showed us areas where he said Trendo, Awagwa, and other criminal gangs are setting up shop and what he called showing the flag, which means brandishing their weapons in front of like a housing project.
The migrants that are coming, they're taking over every block right now in this area. Right now, you don't see them because they come out at night. They said they took this courtway over probably about last week. They said it was 100 Venezuelans standing out in the front right here.
Terry, is it an abandoned building? How do they just take it over?
They just, when you take over something, you just stand outside, and that's called showing the flag.
What kind of guns?
Semi-automatics, anything you name, you're gonna see it on the street. These boys got so many big guns that if they're 150 pounds, the gun is bigger than them. I swear.
But they know how to handle it, right? They know what. Tell me about the fact that they're criminals, right? This is a criminal element. These aren't just a bunch of Venezuelans that walked over the border and used to be gardeners back home, right?
Right. They come from the gangland. They come from rougher gangs than us.
One gang member who only gave his name as David on a particularly dangerous drug dealing corner on the South Side did not hold back when he talked about the influx of criminal gangs from other countries into Chicago.
The real issue is that America has allowed gangs to enter our country. Gangs that they would consider terrorist groups that are formed here. We are terrorist groups if we're in a gang. They let terrorists in.
Wow. Excellent reporting from the New York Post, but I guess the native gangs of Chicago are worried about these Venezuelan gangs that are showing up on their doorstep, and I don't know, maybe they can both eliminate each other. I don't know, John.
I don't think that they understand. First of all, you're right. This is good reporting, right? This is really good reporting, actually. She's like talking to gang members and stuff, and she didn't talk to any of the Venezuelan gangsters. So I would say that, she could have done that, because I'd love to hear from them from their own mouth. Yeah, we're part of this gang and we're in Venezuela and we got let out and they told us we can get out of prison if that's what I would have liked to have heard them say.
Yeah.
But I'll say this. Apparently the irony is lost on these gangsters that these other gangsters move in. That's the nature of the beast. Apparently these gangsters from Chicago have gotten so soft because of the corrupt Chicago government that they're complaining like if they're upstanding citizens. They're like, hey, how am I going to sell crack when the Venezuelans are now selling crack? Give me a break. Give me a break. I mean, and Chicago is so feckless, which is, by the way, Osceola County Commission, that's exactly what they want to turn Osceola into. They want to turn into something as feckless and ridiculous as Chicago and New York. But here's the funny part about this, that these gangsters don't realize how crazy it is that they're complaining about other gangs out-ganging them. Right. And it's true. And I think they also don't realize how well it exposes the Biden. Like I said, the Biden administration was sending these illegal aliens, just throwing them into these big cities, hoping that they would get swallowed up. And they're not just getting swallowed up. They're like an invasive species in Florida, which we deal with a lot of invasive species in Florida. Right. And that's exactly what they're doing. They're sending this invasive species into these towns like Springfield, where they're eating the cats and dogs and ducks and geese, and Chicago, where they're eating gangsters. And they're going to continue. And here's the thing. You got to get them out. All those people in Chicago, it's their fault. They vote for a Democrat. They vote for this. You begged for it. You were begging. What did you think was going to happen in your crappy town when you voted for Joe Biden? You vote for Joe Biden, that's exactly what you're going to get. You allow these corrupt mayors, these corrupt commissioners to take over. What do you expect is going to happen? It's the same in Osceola County. Believe me, I'm blaming myself as well here. Right? You allow the corruption to happen, and now you're going to complain because it's not you that's getting the rewards of it. That's what happens in an unjust world.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that might be poetically just.
I tell you, John, thank God that we live in Florida. I mean, really, thank God we live in Florida, because you're not going to see this kind of thing happen here. All right, but other states like New York, Illinois, this is what's happening. And thank God it's not here. But it could be. It could have been.
It could be. And it could have been.
Yeah, could have been. Well, speaking of Springfield and the cats, the Springfield city manager way back in March acknowledged reports of domesticated animals being eaten by Haitian illegals, even though now he's saying that he'd never heard of such a thing. Here he is.
And, culture is 180 degrees different of what they're used to. And one of the things that I heard that bothered me very much, and I've actually had quite a few people contact me here lately, is some pretty horrid things occurring to domesticated animals in the neighborhood. We've had some stuff in the park that, again, they're being taken advantage of for reasons other than, and if you shake your head, Brian.
No. I asked me if there was proof. I just don't have proof of it. We've heard the same thing.
People that have confided in me have asked me for anonymity. I can't give their names up.
I mean, we haven't seen the proof that you're telling me, and I've heard about it too.
Yeah.
It's funny, John.
Heard about it, huh?
It's funny, John. They're all talking about it. They obviously he's there saying, this is happening. The people, over there are saying that it's happening. But then they get on the news and they say, we've never heard of such a thing. Mike DeWine gets on Meet the Press or whatever Sunday show he went on and says, no, this is not happening. This is not happening. Come on, man.
Apparently he has no idea what's happening in his small towns.
Yeah.
I'd get rid of him as a leader then. If he doesn't know what's going on in these towns, if you allow these illegal aliens to come and eat the cats under your nose and you don't even know that, then you're the problem.
Yeah.
If you don't know what's going on, you're the problem.
Yeah, they can admit to the poor driving skills and the many accidents and the insurance rates going up and the but they can't admit to this. I guess this is too offensive that they can't admit to this. So anyway.
Well, because Trump said it, right? If Trump had said, these illegal or these Haitian migrants are coming here and they're crashing all of our cars and they're driving up our insurance rates, then DeWine would have come out and said, no, they're not. These are the best drivers in the world. These are the greatest drivers. Nobody's ever driven better in the world. They're eating cats and dogs, but their driving is great. That's how full of crap they are. Yeah. It's just that Trump said it, and it became a joke, and it became nationwide news that he's denying it, and he probably knows that it's true.
Yeah, they're embarrassed, so they're like, no, it's not happening here. It's not happening.
And you didn't do anything when you had a chance, right? When you should have done something so that it wouldn't be a story on national news. Oh, well, you didn't do anything, so now look what happens. You look like an idiot.
We'll have to see if some more news comes out of this, if we hear more reports of the cats going missing and being eaten or...
they're not going to anymore. They won't report on it. Why? Because just like they do here in Florida, right? The county commission, they pay the news to put those public ads, and they're going to reduce your revenue if you speak out on this already. So even though it's national news, and it's a 24-hour news cycle, it gets old, so they won't be talking about it anymore, and they've already heard the cat stories, right? So, but it's happening. We know that it's happening.
I'm sure the memes won't die, though. They'll keep coming
for a while.
Yeah.
Another public records request would be well timed, right? How many times has any public official in Springfield or the state, right, mentioned Haitians eating cats?
Yeah.
And see how many hits you get. It shouldn't be very expensive if it's not happening.
That's true. Well, over in Oklahoma, John, officials just announced that they have removed 450,000 ineligible names from the voter rolls, including 100,000 dead people and 15,000 duplicate registrations that somehow got pushed into the system. Listen to this.
2021, Governor Stitt's office says election officials have removed 453,000 names from the rolls. That breaks down to 97,000 deceased voters, 5,600 felons, 15,000 duplicate registrations, and 195,000 who were removed because they failed to verify their address. Over the last 3 years, officials have also removed 144,000 voters who moved out of state. Thanks to new legislation approved by lawmakers, those voters can be removed as soon as they put down roots in a new state.
We're now able to remove voters automatically if we receive notification from another state that they've surrendered their driver's license in another state.
Now, John, we talked on the pre-show about this. Now, they removed 450,000 ineligible voters off the rolls in Oklahoma. How many ineligible voters do you think are on the rolls in California, in New York?
And this is Oklahoma versus California.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Yeah, you're 100% right. In Oklahoma, they probably didn't intend on stealing elections. Right? Everybody knows who's going to win Oklahoma. 450,000. 400. That's a half a million voters were bad. 100,000 were dead. 100,000 dead voters. If there's 100,000 dead voters in Oklahoma, there has to be 5 million dead voters in California. I mean, California intends to steal the election. They're actively, this is the difference between a state where this is happenstance and a state where they're intentionally trying to steal an election so that the country bends to the will of the culture of that state. That's they couldn't get any further apart, these two states. And you have 100,000 dead people voting or voter registrations live in Oklahoma. That's exactly where these mail-in ballots are coming from. Right? You have people who are in jail, felons. I mean, come on. People who have moved to other states, but the killer to me is 100,000 dead people. You can say, oh, well, you know what? We didn't know that they moved to another state or this or whatever. But when somebody dies, there's a registration. There's a death certificate. Yeah. For every dead person, there's a death certificate. As soon as that death certificate is written, a notice should go right to the voter rolls and have that person scrubbed from the voter rolls. It's not like it happens, right? It's not like a complicated issue or a complicated reasoning process. Yeah, absolutely. This is absolutely horrendous. It's horrendous. I'm glad that they're doing it. That's 100,000 votes that the Democrats lost in Oklahoma just on the deceased voters. Who knows how many they would lose? And in New York, New York, Chicago, and California. Oh my God! Just like the city of Chicago, the state of New York, and the state of California. That's got to be 5 million dead voters for sure. That's probably for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
And there's no doubt. And then you have people like, hey, say, oh, there's voter integrity is not a problem. No problem. It's unless you can tell me that the voter rolls are 100% accurate with zero mistakes, then there's a problem. There's a problem with the election process. And this is why you should have to have your vote in person with your ID. And it should be a national holiday. National holiday, 1 day voting. You go with your ID. Your ID says that you're an American citizen. It says that you're a resident alien, an American citizen, or you're an illegal alien about to get deported. That's what your license should say. And I mean, there's no way that there's not 10 times that amount in California.
No. We know it.
Yeah.
All right, so John, this pastor here, she praises abortions while wearing a Planned Parenthood sash. We're going to end the show with this story here. She said she felt no guilt and no shame and no sin when she had her own personal 2 abortions. Listen to this person here. Oh.
Abortion, make them stop. Talking about abortion makes many people profoundly uncomfortable. At dinner parties, in polite conversation with friends and family, and too often in church. Despite many people's profound discomfort with abortion, images, messaging, and moralizing about abortion are ubiquitous in our culture. Talking fetuses, aggressive bumper stickers, and saccharine billboards quoting scripture and invoking God's wrath pave our streets and plaster our highways. Politicians stump on the issue, and state legislatures spent the last 50 years working to control, regulate, and ultimately overturn Roe v. Wade. Their success was our failure. In the abortion imaginary, all people of faith are against abortion. This imaginary has colonized our minds, traumatizing many people with its toxic theology, and shaping a culture of stigma and shame that has silenced millions of women and people who have had abortions, erasing their voices, their stories, and their witness from the public sphere. As a child of God, I can certainly appreciate the lyrical beauty of this text, as well as the descriptions in Jeremiah and Job of their certain knowledge that God was with them in the womb. I too feel that I am known by God in these ways. As a woman who has borne 2 children, I can affirm that I felt something sacred happening in my gestating body during those pregnancies. I can also attest that I felt God's presence with me as I made the decision to end 2 pregnancies. And I felt no guilt, no shame, no sin. While the liminal space of my womb and all fertile wombs represents the possibility of creating new life, if pregnancy and gestation are to remain holy mysteries, they require cooperation. A forced pregnancy or birth is not holy. I cannot fathom.
How this woman is a pastor, I have no idea, John. But
She's not.
Her
She's
name
not.
is
She's a tool of the devil.
Her name is Rebecca Todd Peters. She is a professor, author, and Presbyterian church pastor. She has been active for over 25 years. She represents the PCUSA as a member of the Faith and Order Standing Commission of the World Council of Churches. Lover of all things baby killing, she also serves on the Clergy Advocacy Board of Planned Parenthood and was recently elected Vice President of the Society of Christian Ethics. This boggles the mind, John. It boggles the mind.
Yeah, this boggles the mind. These are those fake organizations, just like the one that came. Remember that Fruit Loop guy that came to the school board meeting and said, I'm a pastor and I'm a member of the interfaith galactic, superstar group of Christians that we believe in ethics, and I just want to speak out against this chaplain's program at the schools. No, it's a fake organization. These are all fake organizations that are just hell-bent on hating God and keeping God out of any place. And that's their whole goal. And this woman is a deceiver, and deception is a tool of the devil, and that's who she serves, in my opinion.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. All right, John, so that's the show. We're ending
awesome.
At 1 hour and 16 minutes.
Okay, well, thank you for joining us. Thank you for stopping by and watching another Unsanctioned America after the storm. We hope that you're okay. We appreciate you being with us. Please like and share the show. On behalf of me, School Board Member John Arguello, and my great friend over here, Citizen Tom Lord, thank you. God bless you. And we'll see you very soon.
Tomorrow night, tune in for the Florida show. We have a huge Florida show. A lot of things happening here in Osceola County. A lot of people upset. And we're going to talk about that future land use change in St. Cloud that's coming tomorrow night.